So I've been thinking about building blocks, the building blocks of life, the building blocks that we choose for our life, and then what we choose to to make our building blocks with. Sometimes, at least in my personal experiences, it feels like the love that I have is being rejected, right? But if I ask myself, am I even pouring that love into my own life? Am I allowing it to be the building block, that truth of love, that authenticity of love, that genuine expression of love? Am I allowing myself to be authentic? Something that could even transcend love, being pure authenticity. Am I expressing authentically? Am I allowing myself to do the things that I want to do, go the places that I want to go, that are in service of my authenticity? Or am I shaming myself for going those places for a million reasons? And there's going to be yeses and nos to that, right? Even in my own self-reflection, yeses and nos. Like sometimes I allow myself to authentically do whatever it is and be whatever it is that I want to be. And other times I don't, because I still seek external validation in order to do something. I listened to a really cool YouTube video, was that yesterday, I think? If I can find it, I'll link it. And it was a coaching session about money, right? So it was like they recorded their coaching session with someone. It's like a podcast style type coaching session. And in the coaching session, the person had ended up realizing and admitting that they themselves were using money as a tool to prove that if people bought their product or people hired them, then that means that what they were doing was validated. And if people didn't, then they were not validated and thus were not enough. And that thought kind of left them in this perpetual cycle of only ever just having enough to just meet their bills, and that's about it. And essentially, obviously, they were sick of that, right? And they wanted to go beyond that for reasons. And I started thinking about that for myself, like, am I still hoping and wishing that confirmation from the external will help to propel me forward in my internal, and thus whatever expression of work that looks like? And the answer to that was actually yes. There's still some version of me that wants to be validated in the expression of anything that I do, whether or not it's an expression of love in a romantic sense, whether or not it's an expression of love through the work that I do, whether or not it's even how much effort that I put into anything, right? But then when I thought about it, if I break this down into building blocks, right? We're talking about building blocks of life. Things that I actually want to be the basis of my, like, reasons why I live, right? And of course, you can knock things down, rebuild them again, create new blocks and replace old ones. You know, sometimes the foundation cracks, whatever. So that's like remodeling, renovation, remediation. But in this essence, if I am allowing myself to be clean slate, like every single day you get a clean slate. And we've got some beautiful, intense cosmic things going on energetically. We're still closing out eclipse season, all that beautiful stuff. So this is like clean slate vibes. You feel me? Major clean slate vibes. So if I give myself a clean slate every single day and I ask myself, okay, today's another opportunity for me to build another block, or to build on top of the blocks that I built the other day, or to just be. And what do I want that energy to be? In the creation story, God created everything through just speaking into the void space. So if I have a void, and then in that void I can create something out of that void, what is the energy that I want that thing to be created with? What is the intention that I want to put into the thing that I'm creating out of the void space? The void being the endless potentiality that can be. And if I think about how if life wants to be lived authentically and truly to my soul signature or your soul signature, etc., then trying to live my life in confirmation for what other people may or may not validate for me is indeed a waste of time, and would likely end up in a perpetual cycle of not enoughness. Whether or not you're seeking validation from family, friends, coworkers, your boss, or a version of yourself that is like low-key a voice from society saying that you're not enough and you have to whatever. Ask yourself, is that really rooted in love? If I was to ask myself what I want my building blocks to be made of, I would answer love and authenticity. And so if I start to experience certain things about myself, certain resistances, and then I can ask myself, well, is the building block for that love and authenticity? Or is it external validation and fear? Is it wanting to feel like I belong, wanting to feel like I'm enough, which are all things based on external validation? Changing up whether or not how authentic and how true and how honest I am because I don't want to stir the pot, I don't want to be seen as weak, I don't want to be vulnerable. That's all seeking external validation in order for me to live life. That's not really authenticity. That's me being authentic to some sort of play that doesn't really serve me. But if I go back to what I want the building blocks of my life to be, what I want to put into those blocks that I get to choose to create for my life, if I say that I want them to be rooted in love and authenticity, but I'm operating and acting in a way that doesn't actually reflect and support what I'm talking about, what I say that I put my intention into, then I got to course correct. I have to sit back and I have to ask myself, like, oh, like, what are my building blocks? I might have to recreate. I might have to rebuild the structure. I did pull a card. Three of Pentacles. And that's kind of what, like, really made me think about it. Because I woke up this morning being like, I am such a lover, but I hold back a lot because I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to be seen as weak, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, I'm not allowing myself to be authentic. Bell Hooks said it best. You know, love comes with risk. If we're trying to love without risk, then we're not really loving. We're doing something else. It could be maybe tangential to love, but it's still not really love because it's fear-based. But if I'm doing something authentic, then love is going to be wrapped up in there. Think about it. If I'm doing something authentic to my soul, then love is going to be wrapped up in there. It's going to be seen in the way that I talk to myself, in the way that I talk to others, in the way that I carry myself, in the way that I do in the very task that I do. So really the journey forward in this clean slate vibey space is the level of authenticity. Am I who I say that I am? And if I'm not, am I willing to course correct or go back to the foundation and realize, oh, I may need to clean slate and put some new blocks in because there might be some cracks in the foundation. There might be some blocks in there that actually aren't even my blocks. I didn't even make these blocks. Whoa. I get it. Maybe that worked for a long time in my life, but as I'm experiencing and embracing a clean slate, I get the opportunity to decide what my blocks are made of and what blocks get put into the foundation of anything that I'm trying to do for my life. And if I want my blocks to be integrity, honesty, harmony, connection, integrity, courage, standing up for myself, standing up for my community, whatever it is, service, expansion, magnetism, you get to choose, right? My motto is always no harm to self and no harm to others, right? When building these blocks. How that translates out into the world, We're in interesting times. But if we can start with asking ourselves if some of the core operating systems that we have right now that influence our decisions, our actions, etc., if they are in line with some of the intentions that we would like to carry forward in this next phase for the rest of the year. And if the answer that we have is no, because if we say, oh, I want to be authentic, but then we go and we lie and we people please all day long, I don't know what you're being authentic to, but it's not yourself. So if we ask ourselves, if I want to be authentic to myself, then do it. Take your time, do it. Explore what that looks like. It might be weird. You might be grieving. I definitely recently started grieving a lot of stuff because I realized that in a lot of my relationships, I wasn't being the most authentic version of myself. Love was there, but it was love based on a lot of things. Ideas, concepts, perceptions that maybe weren't even completely true. Actions that weren't even full. Risks that I was not willing to take in the name of love. So if authenticity and love are what I want my building blocks to be based out of, then I have to let myself be authentic. And I have to let myself reflect on where I'm not being authentic and decide, do I actually want to be authentic? Do I actually want to live a soul true life? Or do I want to just wait till I die and think about it later when I'm floating around in the ether again? I think while I'm here, while I'm living with this gift of life, the gift of breath, it's of better service, not only to me, but to the collective, to choose life. And to choose a life that I decide to create from the void that is rooted in love and authenticity, at least for me. Because then I'm doing things not for the external confirmation of others, but I'm doing things for the Most High, for Spirit, God. And with that, I can be a vessel that not only is beaming with light as I destroy things that need to be destroyed. I literally had a dream the other day that I was in a house where the foundation was cracking, right? The foundation was cracking, the walls were falling apart, all this other stuff. And I decided that I was over it, right? I was living in it. I was having experience with other people in it. And then stuff was just happening. And I was like, you know what? I hate this. I started taking my hands to the brick and just ripping it apart, which means I was super strong in the dream or whatever. But I was ripping the brick apart. I slammed it with tools, started just like, just screaming at it. And then somebody came and they were like, whoa. They're like, wow. They were watching me and they were like, with every brick that you break, you start beaming brighter and brighter. And I remember I could feel it. Like I was destroying things more and more. And my light started to shine to the point where I was literally like a star beaming out. That my light was so bright that I was just beaming under my skin, just beautiful, intense glow. Because it was like with everything that I was breaking bit by bit, I finally was like, oh, yes, like this is me. I'm returning to myself. Last thing I'll say is I watched this movie the other day called Demolition. If you have YouTube, you can watch it. YouTube Premium, I guess maybe you could be able to watch it. But Demolition, right? I won't give too much away, but at some point in time, something happens to the guy to the main character, and he kind of starts to go through this thing where he's deconstructing pretty much everything in his life, like just demoing it. But in this process of deconstruction, not only is he able to grieve, realizes that he's grieving, but he's also able to realize that he wasn't living authentically. He wasn't even loving authentically. He wasn't allowing himself to care for the things that he deep down cares about, but he just kind of became numb to life. But in that demolition of his entire life, he was able to see himself again, to experience his light again, and to realize, oh, I can choose what I want to be doing with this life, and began to reconstruct from there. So what you got to demo a bit? in order to rebuild with those intentionally crafted blocks that we've been asked to build.